Welcome to Fragmented, the podcast where we talk about what's top of mind for Android developers. I'm your host, Kaushik. I've had the good fortune of working with plenty of software developers and engineers throughout my career. One trait that I've consistently noticed among the most successful engineers is the ability to rapidly prototype. Taking an idea from just a concept to something you can actually pull up on your phone or your computer or your tablet, whatever. That sense of agency and ability to rapidly prototype is exhilarating. It's even more powerful in cross-functional settings. Imagine, say, talking to a designer or a product person, just riffing on ideas and saying, hey, let me get back to you. Then you come back the next day with a working prototype. It's hard to overstate how impressive that is. That's the power of rapid prototyping. And it truly impresses. This skill, in my opinion, is absolutely essential and vital in startups. But honestly, in today's fast-paced tech world, it's crucial for all engineers who want to just stay ahead or even current. In larger companies, it's so easy to lose that edge working within, huge established systems and apps. More often than not, when you work in some of these bigger companies, you don't go through the process of creating something from scratch. That 0 to 1 effect just isn't there. You're working on pretty well established repositories where some of the early engineers have made some of those decisions. So you can lose that touch, that ability and agency to quickly bring ideas to life. And that is an incredibly important skill for us software engineers. For us Android developers, the good news is Kotlin is an exceptionally versatile language. It's perfect for rapid prototyping across various platforms. Because when I talk about rapid prototyping, it's not just about rapidly prototyping mobile apps. Of course, that's one of the most important skills. It's also about rapidly prototyping across various other platforms. In this episode, we'll dive into how, at least I leverage Kotlin and how you can too, to rapidly prototype solutions on different platforms. We'll explore use cases and the tools I use. Remember, the goal here is not for you to copy my exact setup, but to understand the principles and maybe find your own comfortable environment that allows you to rapidly prototype. Just find what works best for you. And towards the end, we'll touch on how AI is changing this game completely, making things easier, but not exactly diminishing the importance of this core skill. So let's get started. The first code platform is actually simple scripting. Simple scripting for, the quick wins. I remember a conversation from a few years back with one of my friends who is facing a mountain of data and, complex calculations in their non-tech job where they had pushed the limit of what Excel was allowing them to do. It's impressive to see how far they can push the limits of Google Sheets or Excel. But they had reached a point where there was too much manual processing where you have to pluck and tease out information from different sources and put that together in a proper report. And for my friend to actually do this, they were just we were having coffee and they were complaining that, man, this would take days. And they were just not happy about having to do it, but realized how incredibly valuable it was. I told them, hey, life's too short for that kind of drudgery work for anyone. And I promised them if they covered my coffee, I'd write a script for them within the hour and automate it completely for them. My weapon of choice? A Kotlin script. And this was the .main.kts kind. I've talked about it in the past before, but I'll try to link in the show notes to what this is. It's super simple. You just literally have a file, rename it to .main.kts, put in a Kotlin script there, and you can just run it directly like any regular script. And it's not just, that one time that I had to do it. Scripts are invaluable for automating data processing or any task where you need to, you need a computer to take in that input, crunch data, maybe do some scraping, and just produce results. Think of the early days of the internet. Scripts have always been the quick solution for these data manipulation techniques. A lot of people use Python because Python has a bunch of libraries. To that end, a small note on Kotlin scripting. These days, rather than using the .main.kts, which is really incredibly simple to use, I lean more towards creating a mini Kotlin app with Gradle. I do this because the minute you need to pull any external libraries or structure your app in a way where you have to reuse a class or a script, it just becomes so much more easier to have that mini Kotlin app versus a single .main.kts script. Seriously, even I say creating a mini Kotlin app, it's like 2 lines of code. You open up your shell, do a Gradle init, it'll ask you a bunch of questions, super simple questions, pick Kotlin all the way. And what comes out in the end is a nice mini Kotlin app. You just literally have to say Gradle run, and it runs whatever logic you've put in your main function. Even for tasks like writing test cases, if you're looking for a new job, lead code should be something that's very familiar to everyone. Lead code practice, it's very easy to just use a mini Kotlin app for these purposes. And even though just doing the Gradle init script thing is easy, I keep a handy GitHub repo that I call playground-kt that I just fork and use anytime I need it. I do this because at this point, I have a bunch of utility functions and libraries that I use for data processing that I've accumulated over time that just does some things easily. It all started with the advent of code. I don't know if you know what that is. I'll again link to that in the show note. They have these challenges come Christmas time. And over time, I've accumulated some of these things. So I just like to keep that in my arsenal. But remember, the key here is not only to write the program, it's to be able to execute it immediately, solve someone's real problems. That's the power of how you use this. Okay, simple scripting, that's the first step. The next type of product or platform that I think we should all have handy in the back of our pocket is building a simple website. If someone came to me and said, hey, I want to put up a simple website in this domain that I recently bought. I have an idea of what I want to show, some nice HTML and CSS styles. I just want to get it up and running. You should be able to do that super easily. My rule of thumb is within the hour, if I have an idea and I buy the domain, I should be able to have a fully functioning website up and running. My go-to tool here isn't Kotlin, by the way. It's Hugo, which is this static site generator or a blog generator that people usually use it for blogs. It's so simple. You just drop down a bunch of markdown files, connect your domain to Cloudflare pages. That's what I use. And boom, a solid website that everyone can see. And it can withstand a ton of traffic. That's the huge advantage. I don't have to worry about, say my blog post happens to get linked in Hacker News or any one of these places. I don't have to worry about what people used to call slash dotting or fireballing or whatever they call it today, where you just see a huge surge of traffic. And Hugo's templating system is flexible enough for simple dynamic elements. So say I wanted to pull a set of specific pages or surface a summary on the front page based on certain conditions, got a special header or footer on some pages. A templating engine makes all of that super easy to do. Fragmented's website, by the way, fragmentedpodcast.com, is built entirely this way. It was super easy. There's a nice search. You can use the website directly and see. That all for Fragmented's website at least, it took me not more than an hour to get a first version in. Now, granted, I had to migrate from WordPress, which was a pain for other reasons. So that took a little more time. But otherwise, within the hour, I can put up a website, point it to a domain, and go to people and provide real value. Again, rapid prototyping to provide that real value. Okay, so simple websites is down, but equally important is simple web apps or web applications. This is where we get into interesting territory, and things have to get much more dynamic here, right? So web apps, unlike simple websites, handle requests. They, interact with databases, perform calculations on the back end, possibly maybe go and hit other APIs, and then serve tailored responses for that, full, nice web experience. Now, this used to be where I would reach out for Ruby on Rails historically. But given my love for Kotlin and the simplicity, my love for the simplicity of HTML and CSS, my current favorite stack leverages Ktor and HTMX. Ktor, if you're an Android developer, should already be very familiar to you. We often use it as a client library on the Android side for networking. But Ktor is also super powerful to spin up servers for web apps. So it's not just a client library. You can also use it as a web server. It's lightweight, Kotlin based, and just gets you up and running super fast. Now let's go to HTMX. I'll be honest with you, JavaScript front-end development is just not my favorite. I've never been a big fan. Heck, I loved jQuery back in the day for its simplicity, and I feel I never got past that. I've used a lot of the modern JavaScript frameworks, but it just felt more complex. And, for my more often than not simple UI needs, I felt it was way more overkill. I've always just appreciated the simplicity of HTML and CSS. So HTMX now, it's not HTML. HTMX. This technology has sort of seen a resurgence, particularly among those of us who don't like, going the heavy JavaScript route. It lets you access all the powerful web features that you would expect today from a proper framework, right? Like AJAX, CSS transitions, WebSockets, even server-side events, SSE is what they call them, all directly with HTML. All you have to do is just using simple attributes. Now, underneath the hood, it actually does use JavaScript, but your interaction with it is all mostly in HTML, and it beautifully communicates back to your backend. This combination of Ktor and HTMX allows you to build surprisingly modern user interfaces with the simplicity and power of just, basic HTML or hypertext. Now, Ktor actually has really good templating engines that allows you to generate that HTML, and HTMX is just a variant of HTML. So it's HTML with a bunch of special data attributes, and you include that library HTMX. It converts your basic HTML page to HTMX. I've come to really enjoy this combination, by the way, Ktor and HTMX, because again, you're using Kotlin for the most part on Ktor, and the beauty of CSS and HTML, Tailwind, all that good stuff. I'm planning to release a Playground web app repository similar to my Playground KT, Playground Android repos. I'll try to write a blog post or surface that content. It's not yet ready for public consumption, but until then, if you're curious, I'll add links to YouTube videos demonstrating how other people have used the same kind of technology, Ktor and HTMX. Again, the goal here is rapid prototyping. I'm not building, the next Twitter or Facebook or Amazon or any large Goliath web app. This is about quickly realizing and taking your web ideas to fruition. I want it to be just dynamic enough where I can pull some database records, use a Postgres database, use these different sort of solutions and spin up a web app. Okay, from web apps, we move to mobile apps. Finally, some familiar territory for us Android developers. I discussed my strategy in quite some detail in episode 252, by the way. This is about the one I did on starter templates that I call Playground Android. Now, if I have to rapidly prototype on mobile applications, Android is the platform that I usually work with. I use an Android phone. So this works great for me. The Playground Android app is perfect. I did a whole episode, so I'm not going to belabor that point. But a couple of quick notes, just in general. One, Jetpack Compose or Swift UI, if you're in the iOS world, is a game changer. If you're not using Compose for UI prototyping, you really are missing out. Compose is just significantly faster for iterating on UI ideas than any view-based system. That's the first point. The second is mobile is kind of interesting. I've found that mobile requires the largest amount of upfront setup, which is why I have that whole template, compared to most other solutions. Unlike web apps or scripting or any of the other solutions we talked about, mobile development, and at least for me, Android development, you open up Android Studio, use that wizard and get an app that you can just start quickly iterating on. At least I haven't found that. You need to make sure permissions are there. You need to make sure you have the right networking library. You need the JSON parsing library. So I would encourage you to, keep your template nice and tidy. Also, the last point, I use the Playground Android, but this is where if you were to pick one of those cross-platform solutions, that would also be an excellent choice. If I'm being really objective, solutions like Flutter, even Kotlin multi-platform today, React Native too, I know they're having a resurgence these days, all are fantastic solutions. These are excellent for rapid mobile prototyping. I personally wouldn't use them just because, I'm more familiar with the alternative solutions. And I feel that if I had to quickly scale that up, it would just be easier for me to do it in the way with using the technologies that I'm most familiar with. But for you, if you are familiar and comfortable with these technologies, great solution. No qualms there. Before I wrap up this quick episode, let's touch on the new frontier that we have these days. LLM based applications. These might be mobile apps or web services, but the ability to quickly integrate and experiment with large language models is becoming increasingly important today. And for rapid LLM prototyping, there are a couple of solutions out there. The one I had run across some time back is called Streamlit. It's incredibly easy. You write literally 4 or 5 lines of Python code, and you have a fully functioning web service leveraging LLMs, and you can even pick the models. Streamlit, by the way, was so good that they got acquired by this other huge company called Snowflake, for those of you who work with data engineering and data science, for a cool $800 million. That's right. But Streamlit was fantastic as a solution, I might say. If you're more in the Google ecosystem, they also have AI Studio, which is sort of a similar offering. It's just a rapid prototyping environment for LLM-powered application. In an upcoming episode, by the way, I'm going to have much more to share along the lines of how to use Gemini API and a lot of these AI-based APIs that Google offers. So stay tuned on that one. That's the different platforms that I thought about. I think today, if you as a software engineer can rapidly prototype on these different platforms, you can go to any startup and really do some damage in the best way, because you have all these tools in your arsenal. This does lead us to an important question that I've been wrestling a lot myself. What is the future of AI bring into this world of rapid prototyping? Does AI just change everything? Because with AI tools, making apps, it just seems so simple. It's made the process of app creation accessible to anyone, even with minimal coding knowledge. So the question is, does it still matter? I mean, we've all seen those demos, right? What do the kids call it these days? Vibe coding. I hate that term, but I mean, I recently saw one of those videos where someone created an Airbnb clone literally by taking a screenshot and just talking to the LLM and, finding their way to building the website. I'll add a link to that one in the show note as well. So is all this focus on rapid prototyping tools and techniques still relevant? Honestly, it's something I've been wrestling with a lot. I don't know if I have the perfect answer or what the long-term impact of AI is going to be in this. But here are a few thoughts. Starter templates still remain essential, even for AI prototyping. Even in that demo that I saw, and a lot of them that you observe, you often see that the creator has a sort of starter template or a pre-configured environment. Having something familiar, like a comfortable coding home base, so to speak, is still really valuable. AI can generate the code to plug the holes inside the app, but it's not always perfect. A solid starting point lets you quickly understand and course correct if the AI goes completely off track. The second, I really think developer expertise still matters a lot. There's a huge difference between someone with minimal programming experience using AI to generate the code and a seasoned software engineer doing the same for rapid prototyping. As engineers, we just understand the generated code far better. We can spot issues, inefficiencies, maybe security vulnerabilities, even though that doesn't matter as much if you're, in the early stages of just prototyping something that honestly someone who's not a programmer can miss. And the whole idea with rapid prototyping is iterative prototyping too, right? And that refinement process. It's not just about that initial demo that you can do as a party trick and then leave it forever. It's often iterative. You show a prototype, get feedback on it. You need to quickly go back, update, tweak some of these things, go back and forth. And that's the joy of that process of creating a product, right? As engineers, we can make these refinements much faster and more effectively because we understand the underlying code and architecture, even if AI helped generate parts of it. But the tech landscape is evolving incredibly rapidly today. I think in general, adapting and moving quickly is more crucial than ever. Rapid prototyping, I think, has become even more vital a skill for software engineers today because a lot of people can do it. So it's up to software engineers to be able to do it even better and quickly. Match that speed, but with the prowess that you have built over the years as a software engineer. Hopefully this discussion makes sense. And I'm actually really curious to hear what your thoughts are on this whole AI subject helping with rapid prototyping. But also more importantly, what are the tools that you use for rapid prototyping? I always love picking up and learning these new tools. Let me know in the comments. Thanks for listening. Keep iterating, keep learning, and let's get ready for those pesky AI bots and Skynet. They don't have anything over our software engineering skills. Maybe, at least for now. I'll catch you folks in the next one.